From getting kidnapped by pirates and crucifying every single one of them, to gambling his whole career on crossing a single river, to literally becoming the word for emperor in every European language for 2,000 years. This is the complete life of Julius Caesar, the broke teenager from the slums who conquered 1,000,000 Gauls, bedded the Queen of Egypt, invented the calendar on your phone, named a month after himself, and then got stabbed 23 times by his own best friends. All right, fellas, the year is 100 BC. Caesar was born into an old Roman family that had run out of money centuries ago. They claimed to descend from the goddess Venus herself. But the reality was a teenager growing up in the Subura, the roughest, poorest neighborhood in Rome. His father died when he was 16, and a year later, Caesar made the first of many decisions that should have gotten him killed. The dictator Sulla had seized Rome and was executing his enemies by the hundreds. He ordered the young Caesar to divorce his wife because her father had been on the wrong side. Caesar said no to the most powerful and murderous man in Rome. Sulla put him on the kill list. Caesar went on the run, caught malaria, got captured, bribed his way free, and only survived because the Vestal virgins begged for his life. Sulla let him go, but warned the room. In this young man, I see many Mariuses, comparing him to Rome's most dangerous strongman. He had no idea how right he was.
He just got prophesied by the scariest man in Rome, sir. No pressure.
A few years later, sailing to Greece to study, Caesar was kidnapped by pirates. When they demanded a ransom of 20 talents, Caesar was insulted. He told them he was worth at least 50 and made them raise their own price. He spent 38 days as their prisoner writing poetry, forcing them to listen to it, and cheerfully promising that the moment he was freed, he'd come back and crucify every last one of them. They laughed. They thought he was joking. He was not. The second his ransom was paid, Caesar raised a fleet, hunted them all down, and crucified them exactly as promised. He was 25. That was the energy he brought to the next 30 years.
Hospitality has limits, sir.
Back in Rome, Caesar climbed fast, bankrupting himself, throwing the most spectacular games the city had ever seen, just to win the public's love. Then, in 60 BC, he pulled off the move that made his career. He secretly allied with Rome's two other titans, Pompey, its greatest general, and Crassus, its richest man. Together, the three of them quietly ran the entire republic. Historians call it the First Triumvirate. It made Caesar consul, and then handed him command of an army in Gaul. That's where the legend was built.
3 guys secretly running a whole republic, sir. What could go wrong?
For 8 years, Caesar conquered Gaul, modern France, and Belgium. He killed around 1,000,000 people and enslaved 1,000,000 more, and he wrote his own propaganda about it the whole time, sending back third-person war reports. Caesar marched, Caesar conquered, to be read aloud in Rome. It was the first great masterclass in personal branding, and it turned him into a god to his soldiers and a hero to the streets.
He wrote his own war reports in the third person, sir. Iconic behavior.
But his alliance was falling apart. Crassus marched east, chasing glory, and got annihilated by the Parthians, who reportedly poured molten gold down his throat as a joke about his greed. And Pompey switched sides to the Senate. Suddenly, Caesar was alone, with enemies in Rome waiting to put him on trial the second he gave up his army. His Gallic War nearly ended him at Alesia, where he was outnumbered 5-1. His answer was insane. He built one wall to trap the enemy inside, and a second wall around himself to hold off the army coming to rescue them, and won a battle on both sides at once. Gaul was his.
2 walls at the same time, sir. The man was just showing off.
By 50 BC, the Senate ordered him to disband his army and come home alone to face trial. Instead, Caesar marched to the Rubicon, the river no general was allowed to cross with an army, paused, said, "Alea iacta est," the die is cast, and crossed it. That single step started a civil war. He chased Pompey across the world and crushed him in Greece. Pompey fled to Egypt for shelter, and the Egyptians murdered him on the dock and sent his head to Caesar in a basket as a welcome gift. Caesar wept. He'd wanted to forgive Pompey himself in front of the whole world. The Egyptians had robbed him of the moment.
He wanted to forgive the guy, sir, and they gift-wrapped his head instead. Awkward.
And while Caesar was in Egypt, the most famous romance in history walked into his quarters, rolled up inside a sack, Cleopatra, the 21-year-old queen, had been kicked off her throne by her own brother and needed Caesar's army, so she had herself smuggled past the palace guards and delivered to his feet. By morning they were lovers. By the next morning, Caesar had declared her queen of Egypt, and soon after, she was carrying his son. He put her back on the throne and moved on, because Caesar never stopped moving.
She mailed herself to him in a sack, sir. Most committed first date in history.
He smashed a king in Turkey so fast he summed up the entire war in 3 words. Veni, Vidi, Vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. He crushed the last of his enemies, came home, and had himself declared dictator for life, the title that signed his death warrant.
3 words for an entire war, sir. Main character, energy.
Because Caesar didn't just want to rule Rome, he wanted to fix it, and his biggest fix is still on your phone right now. The old Roman calendar was a broken mess, so Caesar consulted Egyptian astronomers and rolled out a new one. 365 days, a leap day every 4 years, 12 clean months. Rome renamed one of those months Julius in his honor. 2,000 years later, we still call it July. Caesar literally invented the way you measure your life.
He named the month and the salad, sir. Absolute range.
But that kind of power terrified the Senate. And 1 month before the end, Mark Antony publicly offered Caesar a crown in the middle of the forum. 3 times. 3 times Caesar pushed it away, to the cheers of the crowd. But the senators watching saw exactly what they feared. A man being offered kingship and enjoying it. They gave themselves 30 days. Which brings us to March 15th, 44 BC, the Ides of March. Caesar had been warned. A soothsayer told him to beware this exact day. The night before, his wife woke up screaming from a dream of his murder and begged him to stay home. He almost did. Then a conspirator showed up at his door personally and shamed him into going. On the way in, a man pressed a note into his hand, listing the entire plot. Caesar never read it. He passed the soothsayer at the door and joked, "The Ides of March have come." The old man answered quietly, "Aye, Caesar, but not gone." The Senate was meeting in the theater of Pompey that day, his dead rival's hall. A senator approached with a petition. The conspirators crowded in close, and then one of them grabbed Caesar's toga and ripped it down off his shoulders. The signal. The first blade caught him in the neck. Caesar fought back, stabbed one attacker with his writing stylus, the only weapon he had, until he saw Marcus Brutus, the man he'd pardoned and treated like a son, pushing through the crowd with a dagger. And he stopped. He pulled his toga over his own face and let it happen. 23 wounds. His last words, depending on the source, were the Latin et tu, Brute, or the Greek kaisou teknon, you too, my child. Then the most powerful man in the world bled out on the marble floor, at the foot of a statue of Pompey, the rival he'd chased across the earth and already beaten. Pompey got the last laugh from beyond the grave.
Bro got the worst possible camera angle on his own death, sir.
But here's why it all mattered. Caesar's will named his 18-year-old grandnephew Octavian as his heir. Within 17 years, that teenager had beaten every rival, become Rome's first emperor under the name Augustus, and turned Caesar's name into the title of every ruler who followed. For the next 500 years. It leaked into other languages too. Tsar in Russia, Kaiser in Germany. Both just mean Caesar. A broke kid from the Roman slums became the most borrowed name in human history. And 2,000 years later, you still say it every single time you check the date.
2,000 years of clout, sir. Respect.
Well, that was a bummer. But if you want to see how it ended for every man who held that throne after him, every Roman emperor's death ranked worst to best, from the one turned into a Persian throw rug to the one stabbed mid-pee. Click this video right here, and I'll see you over there.